Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charan. In this video tutorial, I will explain how to get or display the dynamically multiple selected checkbox values using JavaScript in Python Django Web Framework. Now we'll check the final results. Gray, orange and black. I've selected 3 values from this checkbox. So here orange, gray and black. If I unselect black, this is orange, gray only. That's it. In this tutorial, first I have shown how to bind records dynamically from this database. Then we'll get the selected multiple checkbox values using JavaScript. Let's select this time yellow. So here we got yellow. That's it. If you are a first time visitor to my channel, please subscribe to get the latest updates. Before writing the coding part to get the multiple selected checkbox values in Django Web Framework using JavaScript, first we'll check the table in PHP MyAdmin database, which is my SQL server. The table name is a colors, which contains 2 columns. The ID column is the auto-generated column and the second column is a color name, which contains some color names. Now first my aim is I want to bind this color name, this column name into a checkbox element. After that, I'll use JavaScript to get the multiple selected checkbox values to display on the browser. So let's write the coding part. Before creating a project in Django Web Framework, first we'll create a new folder in local disk D drive. Right click the mouse, new, and selecting folder. The folder name is checkboxes multiple select is my folder name. Let's browse this folder. Right now this folder is totally empty. Now my next step is I will create a new project in Django Web Framework into this folder. I'm using Visual Studio Code to create the project and write the Python programming. First we'll add the newly created folder in this Visual Studio Code. Open file, open folder. The folder we have created in this local disk D drive, the folder name is checkbox. Here it is a checkbox multiple select, and the folder is added to our Explorer. See, right now this folder is totally empty. At the right side there is a welcome page. Let me close that welcome page. Now let's create a new Django web application in this folder. For that, open view, select terminal, and here we got our terminal, which is a command prompt. Notice the path is our folder name with the D drive. Now to create a project in Django, add the Django-admin, start project, and let's give the project name. Multiple select is my application name. Click enter and see the project is created successfully into this folder. Let me expand this application, and notice in this application we have one subfolder and one manage.py Python file. Let me expand this subfolder also. See, we got some default Python files are created automatically in this subfolder. So all these files are created in this project automatically when I created this multiple select application. Now the next step is we'll add our templates folder to our application. Select the root folder of the application, right click the mouse, click new folder, add the templates, enter. And now we'll add our HTML page in this templates folder. Right click the mouse, click new file. The file name is index.html, enter. And here we got our index.html page, doc type, let's close the HTML tag. After that, I'm adding the header section. Inside this header section, I'm adding the title. The title is multiple selected checkbox, multiple checkbox selected. This is the title. After that, I'm adding the header section. In this header section, I'm adding the center tag. Inside this center tag, I'm adding the headings h1, how to get or display multiple selected checkbox values using JavaScript and h3 tag. In h3 I'm adding Django Python web tutorials. After the headings, I'm adding horizontal line. After the horizontal line, I'm binding these column name into a checkbox control. So let's add input type is equals to checkbox. Let's close the checkbox control. Now we require the coding part to bind the data from the database. So before adding the settings, let's save this file. Now the next step, we'll add one models.py page. Select the subfolder, click new file, add models.py. Now in this models.py, first we'll import the models class from django.db import models. Now in this models, we create one class which contains the properties and our table name. So the class, let's define a class. The class is color class, color names. The class name is, and here I'm adding the models dot model colon, and in our table we have two columns, ID and color name. So I'm creating this color name property. Color name is equals to models dot char field max underscore length is equals to 100. Then we'll add our table also. For that, I'm using another class meta tag which contains db underscore table is equals to, let's add our table name. Our table name is a colors, so copy the table name and paste here. That's it, we have added the property and the table name in this models page. Let's save this file, save all. Now we require the views page to add this class name. So multiple select, right click that one, new file, add the views.py page. And in this views.py, first we add, we'll import our necessary name classes. Now first in this views.py page, first in this views Python page, we'll import the necessary classes from Django.shortcuts import. I'm importing the render class from the shortcuts. This render class is helpful to render our HTML pages on browser. Next we require the class from this models page. This class name we require from the models page is in this subfolder multiple select. So let's add the multiple select dot models import and importing the color names. Copy this one and paste here. Now let's define a function in this views page. Definition display colors request, and after that we need to add the colon here, semicolon. Now let's declare a variable result is equals to. Now in this result variable, we'll fetch the records from the table. So the table we are getting from this models page which contains the class name color names. So that's the reason we have added the color names. So let's add the color names dot objects. We need to get all the objects dot all, then return. We need to return this function with the render method. The render method, the first parameter is request. The second parameter between single quotes, I am adding our template name, which is the index.html. This index.html, the template, and the last property we need to get this result. So between curly braces, double quotes, I'm adding the dictionary here. Then this dictionary, the first one is a key, is a color names, colon, and the values we are getting from this result variable. So let's add that result variable here. That's it. Let's save this file. Save all. Now we need to configure our URL patterns. So open urls.py page, and notice in these URLs the default path is a admin, so I don't require this path. I'm adding our path is the path, the index.html page we are getting from this views page. So let's add this here. From dot import, I'm importing the views page. Now in this views page, views dot, let's add our function name, which contains our template name, index.html. So display colors. That's it. We have configured the URL patterns also. Let's save this file. Save all. Now the most important step, we need to configure our application, templates, and database, the connection strings in this settings.py. Open that one. Now in the settings.py, first we need to install our application. In this section, install_apps, at the end between single quotes, I'm adding my application name, which is multiple select. Then come to the bottom, in the template section, notice there is a dirs. In this dirs, we need to add our base directory. So was the path dot join method. The join method, first one is a base directory. I am joining with the base directory with the templates folder. I am adding this templates folder, which contains our HTML page. Then come to the bottom, notice in the database sections we got the default connection string SQLite3, but our database connection is MySQL. So just remove the SQLite3, add our database at MySQL, and the name here, remove this default code and add the name here is our database name. Here our database name is a sample DB. Let's add that one, sample DB. Next one is a user, between single quotes, the username is a root, comma, password, colon. Here the password I'm leaving blank because I don't have any password to log into my PHP MyAdmin database. If you have any password, please enter that one in this single quotes. The next we require the host also. The host is the local host, and the port number. The port number of MySQL is 3306. Let's add that one. Between single quotes, I'm adding 3306, and the last attribute I'm adding the options colon between curly braces, the single quotes, init_command colon between double quotes. I'm setting the SQL_mode is equals to single quotes. Now between the single quotes, I'm adding the strict_trans_tables. That's it. In the settings.py, we have configured our MySQL connection string. Then we have added our templates in this dirs, and we have added our application name in this install_apps. So let's save this file, save all. Now the final step, we need to bind the column name into this checkbox control. So for that I'm using for loop %% for result display is a variable in the results we are getting from this models class color names. So copy this and paste here. After that we are closing the for loop and for. Now let's bind the data. Value is equals to between double quotes curly braces, double curly braces. Now here the values result.display dot, we need to add our column name, which is a color name. Between double quotes, let's display result display dot color name. Let's close the curly braces. That's it. Let's save this file. Now before adding the JavaScript functionality to get or display the multiple selected checkbox values on a label, first we'll check the basic output, how it looks at designing part on the browser. So switch to the command prompt. In this command prompt, first we need to add our application name to the folder cd. Our application name is a multiple select enter. After that pip install, we are installing MySQL client packages. Click enter. And here we got a message, the requirement already satisfied, which means the MySQL client packages are installed successfully to our project. Now it's time to run the server. To run the server, add python manage.py, this file name manage.py, run server, enter. And see here we got a message after we run the server, no issues found in our application, and below that we got our web server link, control plus mouse click, and here we got the output of that HTML page, which contains the header tags. After that horizontal line, below the horizontal line, the checkbox control is binded data from this colors table. So we have dynamically added the checkbox control. Now my next aim is, when a user selects any checkbox controls, for example the user selects these 3 checkbox controls, when I click the button control, I want to display the selected checkbox values on this browser. For that I am using JavaScript. So let's set the coding part, switch to the coding part again, go to top. First we'll add one button control. Let's add the button control. Input type is equals to, the type is a button and the value of the button is display records. Let's close the button control. Let's save this file, save all. We'll check the output. I'm reloading the browser. Oops, here let's take this button control. We'll add after the for loop and for loop. Let's save this file. We'll check the output. Now I'm reloading the browser. Now we got the perfect output. Now the final step, let's add the JavaScript script tag. We'll add the script. Inside the script, we'll add the function get values. It's a function name. Now first, in this function, we'll select more than one value from this checkbox control. So we require an array element. So let's define a variable selected is equals to new array method. After that, what I'll do is, let's put this checkbox control in the table element. Table, close this table element. After the and for, now in the table we have a tr and tds. Now I'm adding this for loop and checkbox control in this 3D element. Then let's add the table ID. Table ID is equals to table 1 tab 1, and we require the button control ID also. So ID is equals to but1. Now after we got the array, next let's define the variable chk AJAX checkbox is equals to document dot get element by id. I'm adding this table id between double quotes semicolon. Then in this table we have the type input type from this table element. So I can declare the variable selected chk is equals to, now in this checkbox I'm finding the get element by tag names. The tag name in this table, we have the input. See here the input in this table. So checkbox dot get element by tag names, but get elements by tag name between double quotes. I'm adding, not between double quotes, I'm adding the input semicolon. Now after that, I'm looping the selected checkbox values using for loop and push method. Let's declare a variable I is equals to 0, I is less than selected check dot length property I plus plus. Now inside this for loop, I want to count an array of this selected checkbox items only, values only. So if selected check array I dot check property, so I want to get only the values of the selected check in an array. So we need to add selected this proper variable selected dot push method. In this push method, so the push method is a number of new elements of the array, the selected elements. So selected check array, this is I dot value property. That's it. Now those selected values I want to display in the label control or in a div tag or span tag, but here I am adding bold tag, and this bold tag, and let's declare the variable id is equals to display values after the for loop. Let's have semicolon to close this JavaScript up to here. If the property, the variable I'm adding, the selector dot length is greater than 0. Now those values I want to display here in this bold tag. So document dot get element by id between double quotes I'm adding the display values dot inner HTML is equals to the values we're getting from this selector. Here, selector, this variable, selector, that's it. That's it, we have done the complete coding part. Let's save this file, save all, we check the final output. I'm reloading the browser. Now let's select white, yellow, display records. Oops, we have forgot. The problem is we need to add this function name in the button control. Sorry for that. So on click event, I'm adding this JavaScript function. Let's save this file. We'll check the final output. I'm reloading the browser again. Now we'll check the final results. Gray, orange and black. I've selected 3 values from this checkbox. So here orange, gray and black. If I unselect black, this is orange, gray only. That's it. In this tutorial, first I have shown how to bind records dynamically from this database, then we'll get the selected multiple checkbox values using JavaScript. Let's select this time yellow. So here we got yellow. That's it.